Ugh. I hate having an earpiece in. Hello, everybody. This is literally hour 4 of Late Night with JapJap. It's pretty awesome, because this doesn't happen very often. Well, I guess to be fair, this is the 9th episode, and I think it's happened twice. So it's not that rare. Bell Reaver, welcome back. I was just trying to justify why we're in the 4th hour, and then I realized I've got no valid point. Because out of 9 episodes, 2 of them have gone to 4 hours. It's not that rare. The new Trader Man! What's up, brother man?
If this is the 9th episode, I demand for my segment to be 9.11.
Alright. I will save this one as 9.11.
Demands.
That is a great call.
Demands are met. I'm in full legal mode after writing that lawsuit.
So you said you won? Like, tell us more about that, brother.
I didn't win. I finally filled all the statement of facts and each of the causes of action and the demands for payment or whatever. I'm hoping to get a settlement for $6.66 million, and they can accept their mark of the beast. Yeah, dude, studying law, man, it changes your prayer life.
Yeah, because like your prayer, like when you study the laws of man, that has a direct impact on your knowledge of the courts of heaven.
Right, because the court system was designed by Masonic and all those. And so, their father is Satan, and Satan has no creativity. So he basically gave the blueprint of the courts of heaven to the Masonic. So in a sense, like the courts in this system are like they resemble that of heaven. And like this morning, I was streaming during my prayer time, and I was filing complaints into the heavenly courts about our representatives that have violated their duty and called for God to replace them. It might be us. But the thing is like really, in the Bible when it talks about the different gifts of in the body. One of the gifts is administration.
Romans chapter 12.
What's that?
No. Ephesians 5?
There's a couple different ones, and I'm talking about the one. So one of them has administration as one of the gifts, and that word for administration is also a word for ruler. So our rulers are actually the administrators of the people. And so
you're talking about the Galatians chapter.
Probably, yeah. I'm not as good with addresses. So if we want to be rulers, what we essentially are is administrators. And, it takes a level of humility and the servitude and whatnot to be an administrator. And obviously it's like, like predators that want to be pedophiles. They go into positions like priests or teachers because it fulfills their wicked desires. In a sense, they're kind of crushing because they're going through all the work to get into those positions so they can fulfill their wicked desires. They almost outwork good people that aren't willing to do all that. They're not as motivated by wicked desires.
They're demonically crushing.
Yeah, exactly. And in the same way, it's the these people that get into these political positions or whatnot because they want to take advantage of their desires for wealth and graveling and all that stuff. Dude,
exactly. Well, it's like what's up?
Oh, go ahead. What were you say?
I was about to say the whole concept of absolute power corrupts absolutely. And like the more power you get, the more likely it is that you're going to be corrupted. So yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah, I realized last night that if I was king, I would probably have nuked the whole world, and I got a lot of growing to do before I can be a ruler. Because
Well,
when someone attacks, see, what my problem in life is, and I think when you operate in truth, um, you're able to see through stuff pretty well. And so,
mhm.
and most people just lie to themselves. So if I'm with someone and they take a shot at me, they're going to take a shot that's not going to, it's not going to hurt too much because they don't operate in truth enough to really hurt me. And I'm more honest with myself. I can hurt myself worse. But then when I do feel like someone's taking a shot, sometimes I fire back, and my weapon is a powerful one because I can take some of the data that I know about their life and reach a conclusion that really, really, really strikes deep. And
Yep.
it's not good. So essentially, it's like when you operate in truth, you have to be the person that turns the other cheek when you get punched because you can do a lot more damage as a person of
Well,
truth than as a person who lives in deception.
yeah, and so like that has a lot to relate with like your greatest strength is your greatest weakness is because like I have a similar temptation when I'm wrong, but then you see that I take that same energy time and time again to really like dive deep and like do like pretty instantly almost develop really deep connections with almost every bear I talk to.
Bears, yeah. I'm
And
talking
so like
about the people in your family that, say shit, like
well yeah, so
my
like
uncles and,
well,
brothers and
that's what I'm saying is the same ability that we find so easy to do with the Bears because we have a similar mindset. We also have the same ability to do it with our family members and those close to us, but because our greatest strength is our greatest weakness, it's a whole battle in and of itself. Because like people are annoying.
especially when they try to comment on your life when you know where they're at in the deceptions and the
Exactly.
squirting and the all that stuff.
Yep.
Dude, okay, I got to tell you about I Diablo gravy. Um, so I've been thinking about because if I'm going to stand in court and make my case on a religious mandate,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have to have a timeline of when the mandate came to me from God, and for me, what I'm going to say is, um, it began when the Eye of Diablo was opened, and the Eye of Diablo is on. There's a place here in the Bay Area called Mount Diablo. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mount Diablo. So Mount Diablo has the second biggest view shed in the western coast of the United States. So
Whoa.
you can go up this. It's not even that big of a mountain. It's just so strategic that you could stand on top of the summit of Mount Diablo and you can see all the bridges in the Bay Area. You can see out to San Francisco. You can see out to Sacramento. You can see the foothills, the Sierras. You can see the out to Santa Cruz, the Pacific, and so uh, there was somebody who put an aerial, what's it called? An aerial, it's basic, it's this thing, it's a light. It's like a gigantic spotlight that spins in circles. And it was for airplanes. And somebody put that up there on top of Mount Diablo, and that somebody happened to be the somebody who owns Standard Oil Company.
I wonder who that person is.
And that somebody happened to call this aerial tower the Eye of Diablo,
Whoa.
the Eye of the Devil. And you can be pretty much anywhere in the Bay Area. It's still going every Sunday night. Bell Reaver could probably look at it. Um, you can be anywhere in the Bay Area and look up to Mount Diablo, and you can see this light. It flashes because it's spinning around 360. It's like the freaking Eye of Sauron. And
Whoa.
they it hadn't been operating. If you Google Eye of Diablo Easter, it hadn't been operating for um I don't know, like 40 years or something like that. And they
Mhm.
turned it on on Easter 2020, which was basically like I think a week after the March 24th, which was the March 24th was basically the official day of all this COVID stuff because that was when the CARES Act was passed. So that's sort of the memorialized day. And
Mhm.
every Sunday night, they turn on the Eye of Diablo, and they let it run. And I made a YouTube video the first Sunday night. I drove to the foot of Mount Diablo, and it's on my YouTube channel. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just videoing that the light. It's creepy, just how it kind of flashes and goes around, and and dude, it's a trip, man. The Eye of Diablo. So that was the night I got my mandate from God to not cover my face. Um, so that was
That's a good concrete event that it can be easily independently verified.
right, and not only independently verified, but with the religion, I think it helps to have a community, and so we have a strong community of Christians that look to the Bible as a source that that believes that we shouldn't cover our face, and Second Corinthians 3:18 confirms that, as well as a few other scriptures. In
Hmm.
the Old Testament, they said not to that if someone has a disease that they have to cover the lower part of their face and walk around saying unclean, unclean, which is basically what
Yep.
people are saying when they're wearing a mask.
Exactly.
So and I don't have to. The best thing is I don't really have to convince um, the defendant that the defendant's lawyers are going to try to get me into a game where I have to prove to them that it's my religious mandate, but I don't have to
Hmm.
because I am of a private entity. I am a man. I'm not an entity. I'm a man. I am man, and they are a legal person. The corporation's a legal person, and legal persons can only operate by code, and the code says that all persons, so they see me as a legal person. That doesn't mean I am one, but that's what they see me as. So if they see me as a legal person, according to their code, California Civil Code, all persons get full and equal access to all services of every business establishment whatsoever. It literally says like
Nice.
every business establishment of every kind whatsoever. It makes it very clear that all persons, regardless of religion and race and all that
Hmm.
medical condition, all that stuff, makes it very, very clear that basically all persons can go into any business and get the same services that any other person can get. And
Nice.
so it's pretty exciting. But the Eye Diablo is the gravy of the day.
My gravy for today
Yeah.
was I made an excellent stir fry with garlic and other Asian spices.
Asian gravy. That's very appropriate for the JapJap bear. So I was thinking today because I'm tired of working at home with my kids, distracting and all that stuff. I love spending time with my kids, but it's hard to work with them, daddy, daddy. And so, I was just sitting in my car in the park because my car has a, DC lighter adapter that I can plug my laptop into. And I was thinking, I have a generator. I'm like, oh, I should bring my generator out so I can go in my park and like do work. And I was thinking,
Hmm.
it probably doesn't take too much power just to power a laptop. And I had this idea of like these like kind of foldable solar panels that you can kind of just set out in the sun and then just have like one plug on it that you can run your laptop into. And I think
Yeah, they have those.
mm, I was looking, they're they don't have anything like kind of compact like they have like they have these like I think 160 watts would be like the amount, and it's like they either have these like big ones, um, or they have like I mean unless I'm mistaken, unless you found something, or they have these like shitty like cell phone chargers. Oh, okay. What is that? What is that power? Does it have a plug?
Yeah, I think so.
So see, that's the case. I can go Bill Gates strategy here, um, because they've made a product, but they haven't marketed it well. Because I think that there's so many, because I didn't know about that product. There's so many people right now that just want to get out from working from their home, but they don't want to pay like rent for like a little office space. If they can go
Yo,
to a park or beach or something like that and just set up the old solar panel and get their work going, I think that would be a pretty cool thing.
yeah, I read a funny article called News a while back on this topic, and in like some of the larger cities, people were renting out parking spaces so that they could set up mobile offices.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I mean, like it's brutal. I mean, I know Bell River says people are going to go back to work. I think yeah, the year of Jubilee is going to end in March, and all of the gravel is going to end with it, to try to keep people in fear during Jubilee. But I also think that um, the people are going to basically be demanding mobile work environments. Like, what's the point of going to an office? Like, I don't, I've thought that for a while now. And most people, I think a lot of people have. So, I think that it's gonna, I had a theory all these churches are gonna go, like, a lot of churches are gonna go out of business, and they got these big buildings, and I could see Amazon just taking over church buildings and turning them into distribution centers.
That's surprisingly genius.
Like, these evil grabblers would love nothing more than to turn those 501c3 corporations into their own transformed evil corporations.
Well, like what you just said is literally the capitalistic version of what China in their socialist version is doing right now. Makes total sense.
They're doing? What are they doing?
They're bulldozing churches and legally requiring citizens who are religious to replace like I forget what the Islamic thing was, but there's a specific like picture or whatever that the Muslims use, and they've got to replace that with a picture of Xi Jinping, and then or Mao Zedong, and then the Christians who have pictures of Jesus in their homes are forced to replace the picture of Jesus with either Mao Zedong or Xi Jinping.
Figures. I was talking to my neighbor who lived in China for 5 years. He's a white guy, and he was saying that in China they have no respect for the United States because the government can't control its people, and that they actually have like a respect for Trump because he's actually like standing up to China. Um, I thought
Correct.
I thought that was pretty interesting. But my neighbor, he just talk like I talk to him. He just talks. He's a smart guy, but and he's not. It's hard to pigeonhole him because he's. I mean, yeah, he believes NASA's real or whatever, but like at the same time, he's not like he's kind of conservative. He's pro Trump, but he's not like boomer. Like, I don't know. It's hard, but it's good to have neighbors though. You gotta connect with your neighbors. You gotta not let their mask wearing, just squirting differences get in the way of what's important, and that's having at least a localized community. I mean, when this whole thing went down, we all bought guns. I mean, I wasn't a gun owner before, and
Really?
no, I mean, dude, I'm a really, I mean, I grew up in California. I was a special boy, a squirt boy. Uh, I never got my hands dirty. I didn't work hard at all. And like I really like listening to Owen, and being part of the bear community really helped, transform me. I got my avocado tree now over here, got my tomato.
How old is that avocado tree?
Oh, it's not that old. It doesn't have any fruit or anything. It's just like probably like 4 feet there. I got
Well,
my
you won't get fruit for the first, what is it, 5 or 7 years?
3 years is what I just I'm picking up some free avocados tomorrow from someone who has one in their backyard, and I asked them. She said probably 3 years away from that. That's my fig.
Mm,
That's my fig tree. It was about the same size as that avocado tree just a couple months ago. It's crushing.
nice.
Got my what's over here? I got a lemon tree that's not crushing. It's got one little lemon on it, but and then I got my that's like that's for my wife. She's Filipino, so I got her a calamondin or whatever. And then
Hmm.
my baby, my pride and joy there, my cannabis plant. Can't really see it, but so yeah, I mean I got carrots in the yard growing in the dirt. Like I'm and for a lot of bears, they've kind of lived this way their whole life, so it's nothing special. I believe that when you do something new, when you do something that doesn't come normal to you or comfortable, that's how you grow. So if
Yep.
so if someone's like always been like someone that just like works their yard and doesn't actually like go out into the marketplace and make shit happen, like maybe they should, but they go, oh no, money's evil and business is for grabblers and whatever, and it's like, well, what did you use to buy the land, or what did you use to buy your tools, or like how did you get that?
Exactly.
And it's like, are you sure you're not just saying that as an excuse because you're not comfortable doing it? And I've found that some like a lot of the businessmen that are really really good businessmen are actually good people. I'm not talking about like grabblers that are up there on the top 1%, like the Bezoses and the Gates and the Zuckerbergs. I'm just talking
Mhm.
about the guys that are making $1 to $2 million a year, and like usually you usually get successful like that by having a good reputation, and you have a good reputation by doing things the right way, you know.
Exactly.
And it might be that even some of these people that don't go out into that part of the world don't trust themselves. They're afraid they're going to fail and let people down or whatever, and so they don't put themselves out there.
Exactly.
I just ranted for like 5 minutes straight, I think.
But you were making good points,
Dude,
which is why I did not interrupt you.
you're on a roll tonight, though. You're going what, hour three or hour nine point
I
one?
think it's hour like 4 or 5. No, this is
Dang,
hour 4. It's hour 4.
man, that's good. It's not even like a Friday night. You're just crushing on a Tuesday night.
Well, cause so my initial plan is to go 2 hours, but like at the end of hour 2, but Bell Reaver was just like dropping gravy, and then at the end of hour 3, it was like, oh, Trent Bear wants to join. I've got to do an hour 4 now.
Yeah, dude, you should put these up on YouTube, man.
That's a good idea. I hadn't considered that before.
You already got the video,
Yeah.
right? Just throw them up on YouTube and put the titles of whatever that was talked about, and maybe take note on some topics of each hour or something, and then eventually people will find you. I mean, you're entertaining, man. Late night with JapJap's better than late night with Jimmy Fallon or late night all that stuff. So you know you could be the next new thing for that, dude.
That's
The
good.
the truther the truther YouTube channels are crushing right now.
Yeah, so I think the basic thing where I've been kind of screwing myself is I'm trying to focus on figuring out a compatible format to cover all the world's news, and that coming from like I've got zero experience in media, I think it was overwhelming myself. So I think what you just said is a great idea. Is I think I'm gonna put Sleuth World News on a pause, focus on everything else, because those are things I can actually
You're already
accomplish.
creating content with late night with JapJap Barry. I mean, you could have a late night with JapJap Barry YouTube channel. It's that saying, delivery over perfection. You know,
Exactly.
because a lot of times the desire for perfection is paralysis, and I'm guilty of that myself. It's I can make it's fun to make all the plans on paper, because then I don't have to go out there and do stuff and get rejected, and
Yep.
I mean, you're going to be putting late night with Jap. The good thing is you're doing it anyways and you're having a great time, so you're going to be throwing up on YouTube, but you're still going to be like, hey, is anyone watching? And you got like 5 views, 10 views, 20 views, and you're like, that's not a lot, but you just keep doing it. It'll work eventually, you know. I got like 600 subscribers on my YouTube channel.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a little something, but you know, and I probably now I keep thinking I should put my stuff on YouTube too, some like my streams and whatnot too, like you know, like Big Bear does or whatever. So I don't do it. So I'm telling you to do it, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah, like another thing that'll support your point is my YouTube channel, A Rabbit Hole Too Far. I posted like 4 or 5 videos, and I already had like that was like a year ago, and I like, very quickly got 18 subscribers, and then I just like stopped posting.
Yeah, 4 video 18, you know, then fifth video 36, and it grows like that. And over COVID, man, like some of these people that I've watched on YouTube for a few years that you know had you know a couple thousand subscribers, they're up in the 100,000s now, and it's you know
Whoa.
I think these YouTube influencers are killing this whole thing. There's this one guy, an economic guy. He's like a black pill economist. I've been watching.
Hmm.
I said, I don't know if I trust him or not. It's kind of weird, but like he's the only one that breaks down the economy in like terms that we look at, like about the Federal Reserve and their you know their goals, what they're working towards, and how it affects
Hmm.
the market. So I like that. But Bell River,
Yeah, like I've recently kind of lost a little bit of interest in the whole like Bilderberg, Bohemian Grove, like that level kind of stuff.
right?
Because it's like, all right, cool. Even if you're some like super powerful, like crazy man, in reality, when push comes to shove, God's law takes preeminence over like your like admiralty law, etc., etc. You know?
Right,
Right.
right, and that I mean that's the stuff you can go down those rabbit holes forever. Um, and it doesn't. I don't think it. I mean, it's good because it causes you to confront some things you believe to be true before, and then you're able to break lies, which is hard for people to do. So
Yeah,
in that way, it's good for growth. But once you get used to doing that, then is it really doing much for you anymore? Because now you're comfortable being uncomfortable with breaking lies of that don't really affect you. So it's
exactly.
better to start looking inwards to those lies that are affecting you, that are hard to you know to face.
It's, it's definitely of value to learn these things, but once you learn them, then it becomes lesser and lesser of value the further you dive deep into the rabbit hole, unless it's specifically affecting you.
The chat died. What happened to the chat?
I don't know.
No. When I'm in the chat, I'm just like lighting it up. It's more fun to be in the chat than it is to be on video, I think. It's actually kind of like a lot of work to be on video. Like you're a host of a party, you know, you're asking people what do they want to drink, what do they want to eat, you're cleaning up stuff, you know, like you're hosting the party. You got to put out energy, you know, all that stuff. But that's the great thing about our community is people get, you know, they come in and they get involved and it's a good time. We're having a good time. So yeah, man, you've been having a lot of guests on. You like to trade war stories with some of your soldier guests. That was cool seeing Courage Bear on last night.
Yeah, dude, like I really enjoyed encouraging him because he's so honorable
He is.
and he had a chip on his shoulder because he didn't get the things he thought he was going to get. And so I was really thankful for that opportunity to encourage him and like build him up as a brother in Christ.
I think was that his first time coming on any sort of stream? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked totally good with it, man. He had a lot of energy. There's some hilarious with his friend there. Some
Right?
and then you got I've never seen the polar. Who's that? Is that someone you knew from the military?
No, Polar Viking Gorilla, first time on the stream tonight.
Okay. Yeah, he just jumped right in. You guys live what? How far from each other?
Dude, he's like 15, 20 minutes away. It's awesome.
Dude, that's amazing. So what you been like lingering on with the word these days.
I've been really keeping it pretty eclectic. Like I haven't focused on any specific book like these past probably 2 weeks maybe, but I do find that Galatians has been resonating with me a lot, even though I haven't like been listening to it or reading it. Like various like Galatian like verses pop out all the time and like weird like synchronicities. But like as to like reading and listening to the Bible, like generally I've been like picking something like some book in the Old Testament. Some of my favorites, like I said earlier, was Lamentations, Joshua, Genesis, Ruth, Job, Psalms, Proverbs. Pretty much like anywhere in the Bible where I can start, and I know that I like when I wake up the next morning, I will wake up listening to the scriptures still playing. As long as that's an option on the table, like any of the Old Testament Bibles makes my day. And the only unfortunate thing about that is like even if I start out at Matthew, like when I go to sleep, by the time I wake up, Revelation has already been like read, and so I wake up not listening to scriptures. Like, aw, I
Uh,
can't do Old Testament.
See, I don't the audio. I guess I'm not an audio learner because for me, the Bible for the last few years has not been about necessarily reading through it. It's about gravy. It's about can I read something and something like explodes off the page and like blows my mind. Like this morning, I was reading. It's interesting because it's like God knows I'm studying all this legal stuff, and somehow this morning I was reading Jesus before Pontius Pilate, and I'm like, oh shit,
Nice.
this is like a legal trial. And
Oh, so that say I am.
huh?
Oh, so you're the one who says I'm the king of the Jews.
Right, right.
That's something you've established. Good. Like
You know,
literal
you know
accuracy of law.
what I realized when I was reading this morning that I never really saw before in that scripture is it says that the Pharisees who are like the gravelers basically they it said they would not go into the governor's chambers where Pontius was talking to Jesus, right? And you would think
Like if they entered the home or the domicile of a goyim, that would make them impure for the upcoming ceremonies.
right. They said it said if they were there, they'd be unclean and they wouldn't be able to have the feast of the Passover. But
Yep.
like the truth is they don't really care about being unclean in the sense that they were doing dirty things, and
Correct.
they didn't really care about the feast of the Passover because they were the priests. They ate that good shit all the time, right? All they
Mm,
care about is what they look like on the outside. So
exactly.
that's what they cared about. um but Pontius Pilate trolled the hell out of him because when he knew what he was doing when he kept referring to Jesus as the King of the Jews, because what he got the Pharisees to do was say Caesar is our king, and I would
Yep.
bet that they never said that before, and so that was almost a legal declaration that they gave on the steps of the courthouse there. And what happened soon after, because there's a point where they said we can't legally sentence anyone to death, right? And
Correct.
so I looked into that because I thought that was an interesting like statement they made. And so
Hmm.
I guess something happened about 40 years before that where they weren't allowed to like sentence people to death or something through the Roman government, which was the crucifixion
Yep.
there. And then, but then 6 years after Jesus died, so I might be backtracking on my thought, what we talked about last week, where I was saying maybe the siege of Jerusalem was just the Jewish Christians, because what happened 6 years after, you know, or maybe when did Jesus die? It was 6 or 7 A.D. is what it said. Am I?
Well, Jesus died in 33 AD,
Hmm. So then it was 6 or 7.
and so what you're referring to is right before Jesus was born. there was the Jews. They overstepped their boundaries and killed people they weren't supposed to kill, and so then the Roman governors took away some of their privileges, and because of that statement, because of that action on the Jews' part, the Roman governors like uh, tied down, and so they were no longer allowed the ability to kill people without Roman approval.
But then,
And
yeah, go ahead.
so like that happened like right before Jesus was born, and like I did a study into this a couple years ago, and like the coincidences are insanely fascinating, and to dive down that rabbit hole, there's so much gravy. It's brilliant.
Well, the crazy thing too is I was looking at it, and so then they violated the Roman governmental law when they killed Stephen in the Book of Acts. So
Technically,
well, yeah, and that's why when it says when they went to stone him, they covered their ears and started yelling before they stoned him, like as if to be like they knew the law, and they're like la 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 la, and they stoned him, and that right there, the way things work is once they sort of opened Pandora's box there, then they started to keep doing that. So they were like
yeah.
chronically violating the authority of the Roman government, and that could be what led to the siege of Judea or Jerusalem there.
Yeah, well, because like think about it, like so after they killed Jesus, like a very big public figure, they didn't kill Stephen until he was in front of the Pharisees and he was speaking the word of the Lord, and like he was giving like there's the whole like multiple paragraphs, and he gives like Old Testament details, like he makes a whole great speech. And once he established like the fact that he was right in the according to terms of the word of the Lord, um, that's when they're like, ah, fuck you, now you're dead. And so after they killed a less famous figure, that kind of like started the whole dominoes things because immediately after Stephen was killed, the book of Acts specifically says that Saul was looking over and he approved of said actions. And then after that, Saul kind of went crazy for a while before the road to Damascus journey.
Yeah, I mean, I have my doubts about good old Paul, um, but
Obviously a grabbler, but God used this grabbler to write 1/3 of the New Testament, so we've got to give him some sort of level of props.
yeah, I don't know. I like to read the Gospels when I read the New Testament, and I like to read, Acts is cool. That wasn't Paul. Revelation, that wasn't Paul. I mean, yeah, Paul's got some stuff that I guess are legal. Paul basically created a lot of the laws that the courts of today operate by. Um, but so what was I going to say about that? You were what did you start out by saying? I didn't smoke tonight, so my when I smoke, my gravy ladle is a lot more stronger than when I don't. Um, but yeah, oh, I know what it was. Okay, so a lot of times we could look at Pontius Pilate and kind of be like, this guy gets it, um, and he did get it. I think he went back to the Caesar, and he was like, hey, these guys said you're king, so that means we could pretty much now we have legal grounds to do with them as we wish. But there was a point there when Jesus said to him, "Those who are committed to truth um, will hear my voice, or will if you're committed to truth, you'll know who I am," or something like that. In John,
What is truth?
and he said, "What is truth?" And that right there, once he said that, like that is the I remember I was in LA a couple of years ago, and there was this. I was at bar. It was like a business thing, and there was this woman. She had all these like triangle tattoos and like all that stuff, and we got into this lengthy conversation where she was trying to get me to agree that there is no objective truth, and so that it's a very typical thing of to do. But it was interesting because she was really good, and I did come down to the like my final conclusion was that there's that what it really stands on then is faith. That that she's looking for an objective truth, but that can't be found unless you have faith. So, and it's like that's a word that it's almost like in a sense they'll feel like they won. But I remember when I said that to her, it was like a demon
I
in
now
her.
disagree.
Huh?
Originally, when you first said like faith, I agreed, but then I was thinking about it after I agreed, and now I disagree. And the reason why I disagree now is because the Bible says like just like the very nature of creation screams of the existence of a creator. And so in our current materialistic generation, yes, it's much easier to be deceived, but we've seen the pattern of Owen where the more he gets like based in like with farmstead, like homesteading and farming and stuff, the more the more kind of like things he sees from the natural world. And so that's why I changed my mind
But
is because
that doesn't, and I agree with you. And I think that if someone's a farmer and they're working the land, they're going to encounter that truth and not be able to deny it. But when you're just a sodomite Babylonian in the city that never has any encounter with that, what good does that do? How can you lead that person to truth
well,
if they don't actually observe nature?
even in a city, are there not pigeons and parks and other forms of like semi-wildlife?
Yeah, but it hasn't done anything for her to even see that there is a truth, you know?
Well, all these experiences plant seeds, and whether or not those seeds come to fruition comes to the parable of Jesus, where some seeds they fell in the shallow, rocky ground and they sprung up quickly, but then because of the temptations of the world, they then failed. Other seeds were cast upon the road and they were quickly eaten up by crows. But then other seeds beyond those were in good, fertile soil, and they had 6 and 10 and 6 and 8 and 10 times the return.
Right.
It's like it just so happens that the Bible also says that the road is narrow and taken by few. And that's like a really harsh reality that a lot of Christians don't want to acknowledge, that the majority of people, according to the Bible, aren't going to make it into heaven.
Right.
So
Well,
address life accordingly and love everyone to the best of your ability, as long as you're not stepping out of honor, and try and encourage them to draw closer to the Lord.
yeah, if you take Romans 10:9 into account, um, it sounds like getting the ticket to heaven is it doesn't take much, but then your position in heaven. So it's like all you need to do is confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that He was raised from the dead, and you'll be saved. Um,
Hmm.
so that gets your ticket into heaven. But if you just do that and then you just live your life, squirting and all that, then you might just be like you might be the sewage waste handler of heaven, which is better than being a king of hell. But there are rewards that you earn in this life that get you into positions in heaven. So there's a reward for you know for growing on this earth. We'll go back to that conversation with that woman when I said the thing about faith, and I said it. Even when I said it to you, you immediately agreed, and then you were able to sort of process it and come to your own conclusion, which was also truth. I mean, we both spoke truth in what we said. Are we?
Agreed.
And we both probably are not 100% right, And when you speak in truth, you
Yeah.
you have you have you have truth in it. So, but the interesting thing is when I said it to her, just like I said it to you, but probably even stronger, it was this thing where her spirit like her spirit wanted to agree because, you know, I said it with such conviction and just like I you know, said it now, where you agreed and then you realize that you don't agree. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying to manipulate. It only
Yeah,
works. It only works because I believe it. You know, like that's the way.
exactly.
And and so at that point in the conversation, like a demon manifested. It was a trip. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember I like looked at her and I was like, but I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was like I was talking to a demon and I was like, I see you. I see what you're trying to do. And you'll have like, you know, you have no power here. And then
Hmm.
I forgot exactly what she said, but it wasn't. It was like the demon was talking. It was like Jesus when he was talking to the dude with the legion of demons. It was like, you know, all these preachers, they get on and they like whenever they want to drive out a demon, they're like they talk in this weird, yeah, thus saith the Lord, be gone in the name of Jesus, demon, get out of here. But when you look at the way Jesus talked to demons, it was like he had a conversation, you know,
Yep.
and he was getting information, you know, and then he was like, all right, time for you to go into the pigs, taking it full circle back to the Bell Reaver pigs story. Hey,
Love it.
dude, I was in Costco. I saw all these people with masks on their face, and I was like, what if these people evolve into pigs? Because that's what they look like. Uh, but yeah, don't talk with women at a bar with triangles all over their body. That's the
Well,
moral of the
just like
story.
one of my close buddies from the Marine Corps, he texted me earlier today, and he's like, "Hey man, do you want to go to a bar?" And I know like one of his weaknesses is the love of money, so my response was, "Are you paying?"
Mm.
And so then his obvious reaction was to insult me. He's like, "Oh, you broke ass," blah blah. I was like, "No, dude, it's not a matter of money. It's a matter of I don't like going to bars, but if you give me an incentive, then I'll consider it."
Mm. And he paid.
And so I just played mind games with him, and eventually it wasn't worth it for him to buy me drinks,
Wow.
so we didn't.
And if he loves money, he probably has some.
Oh yeah, he's a very wealthy individual. It's just funny because I know his buttons, and I didn't want to go to a bar, so I just pushed the buttons.
JapJap wins again. You well played, sir. Yeah, the going to bars, man. That life is. I mean, I'm glad I'm married because it's like it's you go out and you anticipate something great's going to happen that night, and then you go home and you're just like more empty than you were when you left. And
Yeah, like even if you succeed in getting laid, you're still more empty.
you succeed in the ultimate success. No, it's and I never had that success anyways. My friend I would go with my friend. He was like a 6'5", good looking, you know, smooth talking guy, and he would always, you know, he would always do that. But, you know, he was more miserable than I, you know, so it doesn't lead to anything of any. I mean, I guess speaking to this group, that's obvious. Everyone knows that. But it's I would imagine it must be hard being single during this time. I don't know. No, not at all. Is it? It's
So I see where for some people it can be difficult, but for me, like the whole difficult season of being single is like past, and so now it's more of a point of, all right, God, you have told me your promises in your word, and so once I submit myself to you properly and prepare myself for the wife you've chosen for me, then you'll allow me to meet her. Simple concept, very difficult to actually execute.
and by God's grace, He gave you the bear community because that probably helps, right? I mean, if I mean, same with me. I mean, it's not in the way of single, but in the way of like I would feel very isolated and alone if I didn't have a group of people that doesn't think I'm crazy.
Right?
You guys say kind things about me. Like, you guys were talking about me earlier. It makes me feel really good inside when you guys are kind of giving me compliments backhandedly, so, which is appropriate.
Well, dude, like, as much shit as we talk about you, you're a fucking legend.
Thanks, man. It's funny. No one thinks about them themselves, but like, yeah, I mean, I see you as that. I see, Bell Reaver. I see there's so many Ohio Firebear. There's so many guys that just like are so dang intelligent, man. It's like, it's crazy. That's why, that's one of your, and it actually, when you said it the other day, it's something that's ringing around in my head in a good way. When you're like, you need to stop, like, basically stop apologizing for what you say and just say it, sort of confidently. And that's it. Handy Adam was like, no, Train is he's fucking confident. And it's like, in a sense I am, when I believe what's true, but still sometimes it's like, I don't know what it is. I think it's language, because I say the words I don't know a lot. And I say the words maybe, and I say I feel, and these are not strong statements. What Big Bear does so well is, Big Bear, when he says things and he says it like it's fact, he'll backtrack on it. But like, I guess I don't want to say, see how I said, I guess I don't want to say it.
I guess, I feel, I think.
Right.
There's all very weak phrases that put you at, like, basically rhetorically on your knees.
Right. And the intention is good, because I found for myself, when what people what causes so many, like, family members and people like that, know me, to have such problems with me, is because when I speak something, it's so funny, right? Because it's like, people get mad at me because they tell me that I always think I'm right, and they get mad and upset. But if I'm saying something that I know is right, and you're saying something different, and you're mad because I always think I'm right. If you didn't think you were right, you would listen to me if I'm speaking with authority and talking as if I know it's right. And yet, when they get mad, it's basically they're being hypocritical, because they think they're right. But the problem is that they're not, they don't believe what they're saying, and they can't, because
Well,
they're
they
believing
believe
what.
what they're saying, but they're not willing to question their beliefs.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's why I say, I think like, all that stuff is because I'm always willing to question my beliefs. But what happens is, when I use that language, it causes me to be weaker. And so, thank you. That was something that I needed to hear. And then you sort of pounded it home again, because there's a lot of growth happening for me this year, for sure, man.
Yeah, like, so, like, by being assertive, even though people get offended, that doesn't mean you're hateful. Like, you're not responsible for others people's ignorance. And so when these kind of, like, hot spot discussions occur, like, be as kind as you possibly can be, obviously, because that's what we're called to do, love your neighbor as yourself. But also be very firm, where it's like, so it's so I was just talking to one of my buddies literally today, and he was like, I'm a BLM supporter. Obviously I'm not like in the streets burning down the cities and blah blah blah, but I'm a BLM supporter, and I was able to calmly explain to him, like, the various, like, he brought up, like, oh, more blacks are killed by cops every year, and then I calmly explained the FBI statistics, and he was like, whoa, no way. And, like, that happened with every topic, where it's like, all right, this is what you claim, this is what you believe, so let's go, like, fact by fact, and really have a legit discussion. And by the end of the thing, he was like, oh yeah, dude, fuck BLM.
Nice. Well done. Red pilled. I don't know if you saw my 1 minute video today, but I was in the bank, and I was with, I'm a Chase private client, so I'm a fancy boy. I'm a special boy. So when I go in there, like, they're not going to argue with me or anything like that, right? And I was sitting
They roll out the red carpet.
there,
They
right,
bring a bouquet of flowers to you and give you all the chocolates in the world.
exactly. And I was sitting there at the banker going through stuff, and it's Chase Bank, right? So I'm like, hey, did you know J.P. Morgan was partially a big part responsible with the sinking of the Titanic? And the guy, he's a boomer. He was just like, no, I've never actually heard that before. He's like, that actually sounds really interesting. You mean it wasn't like a natural occurrence? And I'm like, no. I mean, most big things aren't. And then he was somewhat based because he's like, oh, like 9/11. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, it was an inside job. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, tell me more about the J.P. Morgan. So I kind of explained it, how the central bankers, they wanted, or the bankers, they wanted to create a central bank. And there was two guys that were opposed. And
Lord Astor.
right. And so he was like, I'm gonna, when I was leaving, he's like, I'm gonna look more into that J.P. Morgan Titanic thing. And it's like, I went into J.P. Morgan's establishment and shit on him.
Nice. I had a similar thing where at the last like Trump rally I went to, the like one of the main like volunteer leaders or staff members or whatever, like she was the most vocal. As like everyone was like, "Excuse me, sir, can you wear a mask? Wear a mask, sir. Please wear a mask." And like ironically, for the last like 2 hours, like when I was volunteering, I was literally standing 4 feet away of her, like with no mask, and she never once said anything to me. And so after like all the guests like had gone through and like it was kind of calmed down, I took 2 steps and went to her and I pulled out my mask exemption card. I was like, "Hey, has anyone tried this on you yet?" I just showed her the card and she was like, "Whoa, that's awesome. No, no one's even mentioned this once." And like so as she's wearing a mask as I'm not wearing a mask, and she's like, "That's awesome." I was like, "Yeah." And we had a whole great conversation about masks.
Dude, see, I just assume, like, when it comes to, like you're talking about the guy that you were explaining facts about, police, like statistics and stuff. I just assume everyone's seen all the stats and they just have made their assumption. I assume everyone's seen that card and they've read the articles that have said that it's fake. And
That's my weakness too.
and yeah, like, because once you know something, you assume, I don't know what that's called, but you assume everyone knows it. And
There's
then
probably a term for that.
there's got to be a term for that. If not, we got to come up with one. And because I had that happen where I made a card and the lady was like, "That's not real."
Really?
Yeah.
How did you respond to that?
I said, yeah, it's real. It's covered in plastic. Look it. Because I laminated it. And she paused.
That's awesome.
She looked at it.
It's laminated. It must be official.
It's got a barcode on it. What do you mean it's not real? And then she was a blue-haired coffee barista. And
Of course she was.
and then so I talked to the manager, and the manager let me order and whatnot. But like, so that's why the card thing, everyone wants a magic card. We all want a magic card that we can just show someone and it's going to get us all access, but I don't think that's possible. Maybe it's possible. Maybe there's a card.
So there's two terms, false consensus effect and consensus bias.
Consensus bias sounds more like you
How climate change advocates argue their point. Yes,
right.
I agree.
Right.
This is media.
Consensus bias is what social media uses to brainwash people, that
Yep.
make people think that everyone is in support of BLM and all that stuff. Like, I was thinking today with the mask thing, there, like, because I went to a dispensary yesterday to go, do a sale, like go talk to the buyer, which I've gone to that dispensary over the last few months multiple times. And I actually, when I first went in there, I told them about my the medical exception and all that stuff. And I started a revolution where then everyone there stopped wearing masks, the people working there. And then,
Right.
but then,
All right.
oh, you got to go?
Do I do a 5th hour?
No, you don't have to do that, man. You're good. You're good. You gotta stick to the guidelines.
I don't want to do a 5th hour.
5th hour, but it's good chatting, man.
Yeah, definitely good chat.
The chat died.